Before we go into further settings, let us take a business scenario and let us do the configurations according to that. Assume that we are having a company, we are having a manufacturing company which manufactures laptops and mobiles. Now, this company is having manufacturing in two different plants, for example, one for mobiles and one for laptops. So, this one is plant A, which manufactures mobiles, and this is plant B, which manufactures laptops. Now, assume that this main head office of this organization is having two different departments. The first one is the HR department, and this one is the admin department. HR department might be responsible for the salaries, and the admin department might be responsible for the travel expenses or the food expenses of the employees. And these two are the common objects. That means both of these objects will take care for both these plants. So let me mention here that this is common. These are common departments. Fine. Now, each of these plants will have a profit center assigned because, as we discussed in the previous chapter, that plants are something which serves the primary purpose of the business and which also have the revenues. So, this is a profit center. Now, let us assume that each of these department also have a small, a smaller HR department and admin department. So, I'm having an HR department for plant A and admin department also for plant A. Let me also copy this for this too. Okay, this is HR department for plant A. This is the admin department for plant A. This is the HR department for plant B, and this is the admin department for plant B. Okay, so let us assume a scenario that in a period of 1 month, the HR department and the admin department has incurred some cost with respect to these two plants. For example, this is having certain number of employees and this is having certain number of employees, and in both the plants there are various expenses that are involved, and these all are centrally being taken care by these two departments. At the end of the month, these two departments, the HR and the admin department, the common departments, want to transfer the cost to each and every plant based on their usage. Their usage might be defined based on number of employees, or they might have a separate track of on how much each the plant has consumed, and they might directly assign the amount, or based on some statistical key figure like number of employees or number of units of electricity consumed, etc. They might distribute the cost. So this is the basic scenario. Now let us try to create the organizational structure based on this scenario. So we are having two cost centers at the common level. So this is the HR department. This is the HR department, the admin department cost center. And coming to plant A and plant B, which is the profit center A and profit center B, let us have two cost centers under plant A and two cost centers under plant B. So totally we are having 6 cost centers that we need to create, and we are having uh, two profit centers. Or let us assume we will also create another profit center for the head office department, because assuming that it might also have some revenues. So let us try to make some postings, or let me define here what will be the hierarchy. So if we take the cost center hierarchy, so this is the main group. The group is common group. Under the common group, you are having the HR common, and you are having admin common. And now you are having plant A, or I will take this as mobiles. You are having HR mobiles, admin mobiles, and you are having laptops. You are having again HR laptops, admin laptops. Similarly, if you take the profit center hierarchy, okay, so this is the profit center hierarchy. Same, you are having one profit center here. You are having common profit center. Here you are having profit center for mobiles. Here you are having the profit center for laptops. So this is the organizational structure that we need to create based on our business scenario. Now let us go into the system and let us do it. So the first one we will do is we need to create the cost center hierarchy. We had defined the standard cost center hierarchy, which we named it as AVUS. Now we will rename it to common, and we will create two more sub hierarchies for mobiles and laptops. So the transaction code, or you can directly go from the easy access menu. We will go to accounting, controlling, cost center accounting, master data. We're having the standard hierarchy, change. If you see, this is the standard hierarchy that we have created, and let us give it a name as common. Now under this one, we will create a lower group, and the name that we give as mobiles. So we will give it as mobiles division, enter. And at this level, we will create another hierarchy at same level. This one we will take it as laptops. We'll take it as laptops division. Save it. So now we have defined the cost center hierarchy, which is as per our business scenario. We're having a common hierarchy node, we're having two sub hierarchy nodes for mobiles and laptops. Now we need to create cost centers under these both. You can either go here, you can create a cost center here directly, or else you can go to the transaction which is specific for the cost center creation. So now let us go back. Under the cost centers, individual processing, I'll go to KS01 for creation of cost center. So let's create the cost center. The cost center we are creating as common HR. I'll give the name as HR common, so that we can easily find out, and valid from 01. Okay. So this is the HR department common. I'll give the same description. Person responsible, I will give my user ID. Cost center category. The cost center category, we are having a predefined standard values from SAP. As this is related to administration, so I will select as administration, although this is not very accurate. Okay, I can select management. Now let us understand what does this cost center hierarchy does. Sorry, what does this cost center category impact in the cost center master data. Before that, let me just complete the entries in this screen. So hierarchy area, just now we have defined the hierarchy. So this is the common hierarchy level. So I will select this one because this is the HR department at the common level. Currency is the US dollar. Profit centers, we did not define a profit center, but after this we will define the profit center, and we will come back to the cost center master data, and we will enter it here. So the system is giving an error message that the profit center accounting is active for this controlling area, but we did not specify a profit center. Fine, this is a warning. Now let us go to the control tab. So under the control tab, we are having various options whether to record the quantity or not. We are having various locks. So if you see, these are the default values that are populated by the system. These default values are something that is controlled by the cost center category. Now let us go to SPRO and I will show you where these settings are defined. Now let me go to controlling, cost center accounting, master data, cost centers, and here you would have defined cost center categories. So if you see here, these are the categories that we saw in the cost center master data, and you are having various control indicators here. So based on what is selected here while you are defining the cost center category, accordingly, the values in the control tab will be populated. And these are not something that you cannot change, but these are just the default values that the system will populate based on the cost center category that you have selected. You can always change this one. You can just activate this one, or you can deactivate the existing ones. So let us try to understand in simple what are these control indicators. Record quantity. So whenever you are performing any sales related transaction and you have assigned this particular cost center, in the profitability analysis or in controlling, if you want to record the quantity of sales that you have done or not. So it is preferred to be enabled. So I'm recording the quantity, it is enabled. And these are the various logs. If you see, the logs are on primary costs, secondary costs, and revenues. As we discussed in the previous chapter, primary costs are something that flow from FI to CO using the primary cost elements. And secondary costs are something that originate in controlling, like assessments, distributions, or settlement activities which you perform within the controlling area or within the controlling module are the secondary costs. And revenues, as we know, revenues are something which we get from the profit centers. So here by default, the revenues are locked on this cost center. That means you cannot use this cost center for any postings that is recording revenues. For example, if you want to book something on a sales revenue, the primary cost element which is having the cost element category as revenues, and if you try to assign this cost center for that particular cost element or the GL account, then the system will give an error message that you cannot use this one because it is locked for posting revenues. Now if you see, there are two types of primary costs, secondary cost, and revenues: actual and plan. Now what is actual? Actuals means which is flowing from FI to C, or which you are posting as the business is progressing. But whereas plan is something which you are posting ahead of the month or ahead of the year in order to perform a planning activity on any of the operations. For example, if you want to do a product cost planning, it's a planning. If you want to do a cost center planning, like you are having this department, HR department, and you are assessing or planning a budget for this HR department that in this duration of 1 month, it will incur a certain amount of expenditure. So this all planning which is posted in the controlling is the planned primary costs. Actual primary costs are the actual purchases or something which are actually incurred by this HR department as the month progresses. Now, commitment update. Commitment update is related to purchase orders. So, in the purchase order, you can enter this cost center, and if the commitment update is enabled for this cost center, that means here it is locked currently, but if you unlock it, then the system will keep a track of the commitments that the business is having. That means when you are creating a purchase order and you have given the cost center, that means the business is committed to purchase so and so goods at certain cost and certain quantity from a particular vendor, and that purchase order is the reference document. This is required if you want to do planning at a more detailed level. If you do not mention it in purchase order, but when you get a goods receipt or when you get an invoice receipt, it includes a cost center, and then the management can understand that these are the costs that are incurred as a part of purchasing activity by the business. But if you want to do it as a planned values, if you want to know it at the time of purchase order itself, then you will unlock this commitment update and you will assign the cost center in the purchase order. So this is the basic functionality of each of these control indicators. And these control indicators, as we discussed, are controlled by the cost center category that you have selected here. And this is the configuration path for this cost center categories. Now control tab, we have seen what does it contain, and we are having template tab. These are various planning related data which we need not enter anything. Address, communication, and this is the change history for this document. So now let us save the cost center. Now the cost center has been created. But before I go ahead and create other cost centers, I would first go and create the standard hierarchy for profit center, and we define the profit centers so that we can assign the profit centers right at the time of creation of the cost center. Now let me go to a new transaction code. I will open a new window, and under accounting, under controlling, profit center accounting, master data, standard hierarchy, change. So this is the standard hierarchy that we have created. Uh, I also need to discuss another concept in profit center accounting. So let us go to the enterprise, the basic settings, controlling area settings, and maintain control area settings. Here you are having a dummy profit center, and this field is now grayed out. What is the purpose of a dummy cost center? So if you see here, data is posted to a dummy profit center when the original account assignment object is not assigned to a profit center. This ensures that the data in the profit center accounting is complete. That means whenever you are posting a document in FI and you did not enter a profit center for this one, then the system automatically replaces or enters the dummy profit center for that particular document, so that whenever you are extracting reports on profit center accounting, it will ensure that none of the FI transaction is missed out. Although if you enter a profit center, you might see that revenue under that particular profit center, but if you do not enter a profit center, you can still see it under the dummy profit center. So the profit center accounting is now holistic with respect to the postings in FI. But why it is grayed out? Because if you see here, it says you can only create dummy profit centers and profit center accounting under master data and create dummy profit center. But the system will not give an error if the dummy profit center is not created. So now let us go back to our configurations wherein we are discussing the standard hierarchy of the profit center. So this is the standard hierarchy. Let me take this as AV industry common hierarchy, and let me create a new lower level group. This will be our mobiles division, and another profit center at the same level. And let us define another hierarchy, which is the laptops, which is laptops division, and save it. Now let us go ahead and create a profit center, individual processing, KE51, and I'll create the first profit center as HR common, or I'll just create a common profit center for both the admin department and the HR department. It's a common profit center, common, and again give the same name. Person responsible is the username. In the profit center group, we have the common level. Here we're having segment. The segment is not defined, but it is fine because segment is not a mandatory uh, financial object to define. So now activate the profit center. Similarly, let us create another profit center for mobiles. And under the profit center group, let's select laptops, sorry, mobiles. Save it. Okay, it's in active status. Let us go ahead and activate the profit center. Similarly, for the laptops, I will create laptops, laptop division, and the profit center group will be laptops. Activate the profit center. Now we have created the profit centers. Now let us go back to the cost centers and define the profit centers in the cost center master data. Now let's edit the cost center that we have created for the common HR. I am going to case 02, the change transaction for the cost center, and this is the cost center that we have created. Here let us enter the profit center. So this is our profit center, which is under the common hierarchy level, the common profit center, and save it. Okay. So usually this warning message says that once the cost center is created and if there are any postings that happen onto the cost center, then if we try to change the profit center or add any new profit center in the cost center master data, then the system needs to recalculate all the postings that have already happened and assign the profit center. So it is a complex calculations that is to be performed by the system. So the system gives a warning message that it might take some time for it to process the change of the cost center. We have continued with the change. Now let us create the other cost centers. So the second cost center that we want to create is admin common. So the name is admin common, admin department common. Okay, this is the user responsible. Previously we have chosen the cost center category as management. Now we have a more similar one for our need and we will choose it as administration. Hierarchy area. This also belongs to the common hierarchy because admin is also a common department for both the plans. So common cost center hierarchy, and the currency of our company code is US dollar. Here we will enter the same profit center because we have created a same profit center for the entire common hierarchy level. So the profit center name is common. And under the control tabs, again we already discussed what does these indicators do and how these default values are populated here. And in other tabs there is no data that we need to enter. Save it. Now we have created these two cost centers for the HR department and the admin department. We have created a profit center for the head office. Now we need to create individual cost centers for each of the plant. Now let us go to HR mobiles, which is the plant A. It is manufacturing mobiles, so I will name this as HR mobiles. Okay, let us put the validity remain the same. Person responsible will remain the same. The cost center category for HR department, we have chosen it as management, so I will put it as L. And the hierarchy area now changes because we are creating this cost center for the mobiles division. So the hierarchy area is mobiles, currency remains the same, and the profit center now changes to mobiles. Save it. You can also copy the cost centers. Now let us try creating a new cost center by copying an existing cost center. So the new cost center name is laptops, or I'll put it as admin mobiles. Admin mobiles, and let us copy HR mobile in the same controlling area. Now all that I need to do is change the name and the cost center category. The cost center category for the admin department is administration, and the rest all remains the same because this belongs to the same plant that is manufacturing mobiles. Now using HR mobiles, let me also copy HR laptops. So now let us rename this to HR laptops department. The hierarchy now will be laptops, and also the profit center will be laptops because this belongs to the laptops manufacturing plant. Save it. Now we will create admin laptop. Cost center category is administration, which is W, and the rest all remains the same.